Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cloudy Desk. I'm Claudia, and today we're going to be swatching some blue-black permanent inks. I want to do that because I use this Bible-sized plotter in the Shiranami leather, which is sort of like a blue-gray. And I really have been drawn to using blue-black as sort of my everyday planner ink. I always use my Enso Bolt with this pen, and it's just been really pleasing. You can sort of see next week having a blue-black in here because it just sort of feels like it goes with the whole aesthetic. And one thing I've been needing to do is, since Plotter uses cream paper, is I want to swatch all of the blue-black ink samples I have on the cream paper, because I can never quite remember how everything looks, and I really want to find both the color ink I like the most and then the one that performs best in this pen. So that way I can at some point decide which one I want to buy a bottle of. I have 5 ink samples here. I did have a 6th ink sample that I purchased. I can show it a little bit later once we swatch all of these. But then, sorry, my phone was buzzing. I had taken it out of my ink sample box because I wanted to use it next. And I put it somewhere very special and safe that I have no idea where that is. So either I need to get another sample of that ink, or, I mean, in all likelihood, between these 5 samples I can find one that I like good enough to use. Today we will be swatching. I pulled out 2 sheets of the Plotter to-do list paper. I really primarily use the dock grid paper because I use that so much I don't want to waste it swatching, but I have one of these to-do list inserts that I don't really use super often, so I figured grab a few sheets, but this way we can test on that cream paper what it looks like. It's not like a crazy cream, like here's some white next to it. You can see it's just like a slight cream, but cream papers, particularly for cooler inks, really have an impact on the color because it really warms them up. So I think it's really important for me to have a sample of these on the actual paper I will be using. To sample today, or to swatch today, I have my River City Penco pen nib holder. Don't actually remember the name of this blank, but it's super pretty. And then the Kakimori steel dip nib, because I like, since it's basically a fountain pen, when you do the writing sample, it really mimics how much ink you would actually be putting down. I found those other dip nibs that I have, sort of like calligraphy or drawing ones, they just put down so much more ink that it's significantly darker than it would be otherwise. So let's get started. I also have a little towel here and some water. And these are all, I can't remember if I mentioned, permanent inks, so they are waterproof. And so part of the test will also be, once it's all dry, going over with some water just to see how waterproof it is. So this is actually the ink that started this whole journey. The Rohrer and Klingner sketch ink in Frida, which is the sort of their blue-black. So I'm just gonna put a big sploosh down to start, and then I like to pull some of it out because I'm not going to be using it that darkly, so this can sometimes help see more of the actual color underneath. Dry that off, and let's write their name. So this is Sketch Ink. So someone a friend of mine sent me samples of a bunch of the sketch inks. And this wasn't even one I was planning on trying. I was really interested in like the black and the browns to use for drawing. But this was in there and I thought like, oh, let me try it in my Bolt, the planner pen I have, and I have in fact loved that so much. It put me on this like, well, if I want to do a blue black ink purposefully as sort of my everyday writer, what other ones out there, because I don't want to just buy the first one. Maybe there's ones that sort of work better in the pen or the color's a little closer to what I want. So hence this very fun project. I also have a slight fondness for blue black ink because when I was in grade school I had to use fountain pen in school and we were required to use black ink or blue ink. We were not allowed to write in any other colors, but we were allowed to use blue black, and that was, for a lot of us, it felt like sort of rebellious because it was sort of like the one variation we were allowed to get away with, of just not using sort of standard blue or standard black. We could sort of go crazy and get blue black. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going a little off screen here. So this one seems to be drying a lot faster. I also maybe put less ink down. Oh, I didn't actually tell you. So this is the D. Atramentis Document Dark Blue. And I have 2 of the D. Atramentis Document Blues because they had, I think, 3, and I was curious how they compared, but I didn't want to do all 3, so I think I just got 2 of those. Sorry, I dipped way too deep. And of course, as usual, what's playing with ink if you don't get a little messy? Let me just clean that up a little bit more. So this is the D. Atramentis Document ink. I do like this one's a little like purpler than this, maybe a little bluer, whereas this one has maybe some more, could just be in comparison, like a little greener. This one is dark blue. And just for the fun of it, a few little swatchies there on the side. But I like that. One thing I was thinking after I had used the Frida was if there was something that was a little like grayer. Not that I'm going for a perfect match with my planner, but if we can see, the inside leather is a very like blue gray, and so thinking of like what works well with it. Doesn't have to be an exact match, but sort of thinking of how that all looks together, because I'm not someone who goes for super matchy things, but having something that looks nice when it's open makes it more fun to use as sort of like a aesthetic experience. So this is the blue gray document ink. So this was the one I got to compare. Oh, let me just pop that bubble a little. So let's see how different this one is. Oh yeah, this one, the dark blue is a very purpley color. Both of these seem to dry a lot faster than the Frida. So let's go for that writing sample now. So, whoa, whoops, over dipping. Let's take a little off. I know this looks like the paper is prone to feathering, but this, I have not had this issue before. I think it's just how much ink is being put down right now. So document ink. Blue gray. I really like this one. I definitely think I like this more than the dark blue. Oh. Maybe this is the one I'll ink up next in the pen to see how it actually behaves. Apologies if I keep going off screen. I'm realizing I'm not super checking. Yeah, this looks like it's bleeding through, but I think it just plopped down so much ink right there that it just couldn't really handle that. Move that up. And this is my handy fountain pen or ink sample stabilizer from Fountain Pendulum. I don't need those from the Yoseka samples. Bottles are very, since they're sort of short and stubby, are quite stable. I don't know if you can hear, there's a helicopter going by my window. The cloudy desk here is in New York City, so it's never silent. If you do ever get these samples from Yoseka, I always recommend saving the seal, because if you take these out, these bottles are prone to evaporating. So I recommend putting the seal back on before you get started again. And then so these final two we'll be looking at are the Sailor permanent blue black, or the permanent blues. One's more blue, one's more blue black. So this one is Seiboku. One of these I've already used. I think it's the other one. This one's a much vivider blue than the other ones we looked at today. Less blue black, more blue. Let me just confirm. Yep, Seiboku. So I think these are a lot wetter, which is also why they sort of plop down. I think they're more lubricated, which matches my experience. I use the Diatramentis Sepia, the brown, a lot. Yeah, they describe this one as blue. So I'll just put that there so I remember. I mean, it is definitely a dark blue. I wouldn't call it like a true blue. I would think of that as brighter, but you can see it writes much finer than the other ones. I think it's not quite as lubricated because I'm using the same nib on all of these. So Diatramentis seems wettest. Sketch ink somewhere in the middle there. Which also checks because I use the black sketch ink, Lottie, I think it is, in another pen, and I have used it in my Bolt, so that feels true. And then this one is the Sobuku blue black. So let's see how that compares. Again, always save the seal on these little glass bottles. How are we on camera? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, definitely little, I sort of feel like blue blacks aren't always just like darker. There's sometimes more, they're grayer, which is I guess sort of that black, where that blackness comes from. I think that's why I like it. It feels really gentle, especially on the cream. So this is Sailor. Let's make sure again. I think this one I have currently inked in my pen, or recently inked in my pen, and it's a little bit lower in the bottle, so a little bit harder to get a good dip. That is blue black. Yeah, it definitely feels similar to the other Sailor ink. Much drier. it's a finer writer, which Japanese inks, well, they not too surprising. If you think of a Japanese pen, then I have, similar to the stabilizer, I have the pen rest from Fountain Pendulum as well. Let's put this back on. Yeah. I don't worry about getting the seal all around because sort of putting the cap on can smush that down. You just want it mostly in position. So then the honorable 6th mention, which I really want to find it. I really want to test it so I tested my first batch of these because the 2 sailors were the first ones I got after I got this sample on some Tomoe River paper, which is white, not cream. But the other ink I got was from the Lennon Toolbar Atmospheric line, Night Sky, and I really like the color because it has that grayness that I kind of like from these, but it's maybe not quite as dark. And I would have liked to test it on the cream paper to see how that works. But I guess it looks more like, seems pretty close to this blue-gray document ink, which is kind of interesting. Let's see how these compare. Yeah, so as expected, much more sheen, and I did these sort of the same way. There's like a red sheen that appears on the Tomoe River paper that's not here on the plotter paper, but I wouldn't really expect the plotter to have it, and I don't, this is a very functional planner, and I'm not using it to make it beautiful. I don't need it to be like showing all of the ink properties. I just need it to work. But I like that. And then, yeah, you can really see, I feel like, the difference between the warm paper and the Seibuku. This feels a lot more muted than it does here. Don't know how well the camera's picking that up, but it's much more vibrant in here. It's sort of toned down a little bit. Yeah. Interesting. So I think I currently, let me do it on the backup paper. I think what's currently in here is Frida. It's either Frida or Sobuku, which they're honestly quite similar, so who's to say? I mean, even if you look at the actual writing, these two seem really similar. I think the only difference I can really see, this one is a touch darker. These are different, definitely. This one feels a lot warmer. This one's cooler. And this one, it does have a sort of like muted teal in person. There's like a slight green happening there. But what do I think is in here right now? I think it's Frida. I think, yeah, that's that. So let's just do in the, and so see, this is why I like, oops, this nib, is it the dip nib, is it really shows, I think, sort of what that looks like in actual use, particularly here where it wasn't quite as fresh of a dip. That's a very, very close match. Like, it's very much the same color, which for me, if I'm swatching inks, I want to know what it's going to look like when I write. So I've been super happy with this nib, and I'll drop it, a link to it in the description down below. But yeah, I don't know, what do you all think? Which ones of these would you think I should try? I think next I'm gonna try the Sailor. Just these being so much wetter does have me a little nervous. Not so much for feathering or bleeding or anything like that, but like, I write fairly small in my planner and I don't want the line to be made super wide, whereas I kind of, the fineness of this writing sample is really appealing to me. Oh, can't forget though, the other thing I wanted to try was checking water resistance. I do think using this water will give me a slight different look, so I'm gonna clean this out and then we will do a water test. Okay, back, fresh water. Before I do the test itself, I will say I am not necessarily looking for complete waterproofness. I'm not like doing watercolor over this ink. I do not plan to, so I don't need it to not react to water at all. But I would like some water resistance, so that way if I were to spill water on my planner, I can still read what plans I have for the day. Sorry, I realized I had like a good painting brush and I don't really want to use that for this. Yeah, I think I'll use this one. Yes, so like I said, not looking for total waterproofness, more water resistance. Like if I spilled my tea on my notes, could I still see what it was I'm trying to do there? Okay, Sailor, looking good. There's a little bit coming off, but again, that's totally fine. Okay. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the Sailors kind of match in that regard. Let's also just do a test. Yeah, I think there might just be some stuff on this brush. Might not be totally clean. Whatever. This isn't science. This is a loose use case. Yep. That looks good. Yeah, so really any of these, I'm not concerned about losing notes to them. Yeah, I don't know. This doesn't, I mean, does this not answer more than it answers? Possibly. Actually, interestingly, I am getting a little sheen in the Sailor, in the blue one, the Sobuku. Maybe a touch in the blue black, definitely more in the blue. I can see some red there. Interesting. I think in terms of just looking at the writing itself and color, let's see, actually, let's put this on the actual journal, like what this is what it would look like. What am I drawn to? I mean, I do like blue-gray has that similar feel to the journal itself, so I'm just going to pull out some things. I don't like, this is too warm, too purpley, so we're going to move dark blue. So this is going to be the nose, I guess these are the yeses, of things I will put in the pen soon, and maybe I'll do a part 2 once I've done that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I can do some writing samples once I've used them in a pen so I can compare. So I'll try to save this sheet, which who knows. So Sobuku, blue black. Yeah, I do want to try it. I like the color of this, I think, more than the Seibuku. I think similarly, I like that this is just maybe, although I do like them both, so maybe I want to try them both. And then I do like the Frida. It's the one I'm currently using, and I have no real complaints. Oh my god. I'm going out tonight. I'm going to a show. I have to be a real human and clean myself up a bit. Yeah, so maybe I've only eliminated one, but maybe as I use them, I can sort of get a sense of what I think of them and hopefully identify the one bottle I would like to buy. Yes, I could switch inks around, but I find I use up a cartridge, or not a cartridge, a converter in this very quickly because I use this every day. And so I don't want to have to clean it out every time I need to refill it. Additionally, it'd be really great if I could like decant a little bit of whatever bottle I'm using to leave it at work. That way, if since this isn't transparent, I sometimes forget to check how much ink I have like on Sunday, and then I get to work on Monday and it's totally dry. So if I could decant a little bit of whatever bottle I have, I could leave it at work and refill it there. So I would like to get to my one blue black ink that I use. Yeah, I don't know, as I keep looking at this definitely reads bluer in the writing. I don't have to come up with an opinion. I don't have to pick right now. I did my job. I eliminated one. Anybody want this? I'll mail it to you. An almost full sample from Van Ness of Dear Tremendous Dark Blue. It's lovely, just not my shade. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I will be doing another ink swatching in the next couple of weeks. I had a friend send me some inks and I really like them, and I'm very tempted to buy some, but I want to compare them to bottles I already own to see if I like them, because I already have inks that are almost identical, or if they are in fact different enough that I should potentially consider it. But I really appreciate you all spending some of your time with me. Let me know sort of what's your go-to planner color, if you have one sort of go-to ink that you use, or do you really enjoy sort of switching it up? I like keeping it the same also, because if I want to plan ahead in my notes, when I get to that week, I know my pen will still match and not be some wildly different color. Yeah. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.